Well, good morning, everybody. It is great to be here. I told Dave, he said, okay, you ever worked with one of these mics? Don't pull on it. You'll think you're going to pull it off the stage. I said, I'm going to test that first. As you know, I'm Deanna O'Leary, and I actually have my aunt and uncle, Doyle and Kay Hopper, my aunt and uncle, that are here, and I'm really grateful that they are here. When this all started, first of all, I just want to thank you for letting me be here today. It's beyond a blessing for me. Sorry if I get weepy. I'm struggling with that these days. My mother just passed away June 25th, and I was caregiving for her, living in my home. When my dad moved in, my father has dementia, and when he moved into the home, my mom moved in with me, and my husband and I took care of her. And she was my best friend, so every once in a while, I'll get a flare of that, so just ignore it when it happens. But this came about, I met Brenda at a singing at Richard and Sandy's house, and we started talking, and she said, would you be willing to come? And I said, I'll go anywhere and talk about this anytime with anybody. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was here after the first service, and it was when the tables were up outside with all the flyers of all the different things, and I didn't realize Brenda was standing there, and we were laughing about only the men get taco night, and so she made a comment, oh, there's something for everybody, and I turned around and went, oh, Brenda. And we talked for a minute, and she said, look, you're on the schedule, you're on the flyer here. And I took it home, and I have to tell you, I chuckled, because I read the top of the flyer, and it says, fall kickoff, a time for encouragement. Let's talk about dementia. And I just felt like those two things didn't go in the same spot for me. It's just normally those two don't go together. But I hope that when we kind of finish up here today, that you will actually find that although this is a devastating disease, that difficult to walk with somebody through this journey, but it can be so incredibly beautiful if you just know what to do sometimes. I hope that you'll leave encouraged about a subject that is normally the farthest thing from it. So I want to ask a question, and first I'll tell you before I ask you to raise your hand. Right now, if you think back in your families, extended family, grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, whoever, how many of your families have been affected in some way by dementia? Can you just raise your hand? Now keep them up, and I want you to look around the room. Just look around at how many people have their hand raised. It's kind of shocking. Go ahead and put your hands down. Thank you. It's kind of shocking when you do that because there's always at least half of the people in any group that will raise their hands. And we don't talk about this very much. And we don't know the other people around us who are struggling with it or who have had somebody in their family that's been affected by it. The estimate is that 1 in every 5 families are affected by it in some way, shape, or form. Right now, there are over 6 million people over the age of 65 in this country who are living with dementia. And that doesn't include those who haven't officially been diagnosed or those under the age of 65. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. Not only am I living it with my father, but there's so many little things that we can do that make this journey so much different, that made me and my mom and our family be able to have my dad at home far longer than he would have been able to be, and they're easy things to do. And I'm not going to share all those with you today. I really want to kind of share with you just a couple of things. As I said, my dad has dementia. He was officially diagnosed in 2018, but we were seeing signs before that. And looking back, we didn't recognize those signs. And on Good Friday in 2017, my dad had a car accident. And thankfully nobody was hurt, but it totaled both of the cars on Demery. And from that point, we really started seeing additional declines. But I will tell you that dementia never, ever once crossed my mind. Because what I knew of dementia was you lose your memory. People forget things. My dad wasn't forgetting anything. My dad could tell you what he did this morning, yesterday, last week, last year, 10 years ago, or when he was a child. But I watched him struggle to write a check. Because, see, his memory wasn't the problem. His processing center was the problem. That thing in your brain that allows it to initiate and then go through the steps of a process and stop and go on. Something as simple as putting on your shirt, putting on your pants. Those are all processes. And my dad had no memory issue. He had a processing problem. And he is a brilliant man. He retired early at 49, 30 years with the company as Vice President of Human Resources for Pirelli Tire Corporation North America. He did contract negotiations. He came home, he was going to be an attorney, and then my mom got sick and needed a heart transplant, 1996. And he shifted his career path so that he could better care for mom for all those years. People often talk about Alzheimer's and dementia, right? You hear, oh, it's Alzheimer's or it's dementia. Alzheimer's is just one kind of dementia. So if you think about this big umbrella, and if you wrote dementia on this big umbrella, Alzheimer's would just be one thing that falls underneath that. There are over 400 identified types of dementia right now, all the way to childhood onset dementia. So it's not just something that affects people as they age. There are children who are having dementia. If you think of my father has Lewy body, it presents differently. All of these symptoms that you see that are common symptoms, no matter what type of dementia it is, eventually they kind of bleed together at the end, but in the beginning they present so differently. A friend of mine she's in Michigan, she's a state official in Michigan, and this is what she does as a living. She's worked in senior care and everything else. Her husband had early onset dementia and she didn't notice it, and she trains dementia. Because he kept saying, huh? What? Huh? And she thought he had hearing issues. So they went to the ear, nose, and throat and had his hearing checked and everything else, and it wasn't that he was having hearing problems. But you will lose 1 in every 5 words whenever you get to moderate stage dementia. So if you have a sentence that has, I went to the store, and the word that I miss in that is store, I have no idea where you went. And so he was saying, huh, because he wasn't catching everything. So it just shows you how differently this stuff can all present. This journey with dementia with my dad has not been an easy one at all. But the one thing that I have found over and over is the same thing that I have found over and over in life. You know, Jesus gave us a commandment that we are to love each other, love one another as I have loved you. That is not warm and fuzzy. That's a different kind of love. So much of the makeup of our relationships goes back to that principle of loving each other as Christ loved us. But are we willing to do that? Because it's not easy. And 1 Corinthians 13, I'm not going to read it, don't worry. But 1 Corinthians 13 gives us a very clear picture of what that kind of love looks like. And it applies when you're dealing with somebody who's struggling through this. It's not warm and fuzzy. And I want you to think about these traits. Because if I'm showing love, I will be patient, I will be kind, I won't be jealous, I won't brag, I won't be arrogant, I won't act unbecomingly, I won't seek my agenda and my interests first, I won't be easily provoked, I won't take into account wrongs that I've suffered, I won't rejoice in unrighteousness, but I'll rejoice in the truth, I will bear all things, believe all things, and endure all things. Love never fails. And to love that way, that is a hard thing to do sometimes. At the end of the day, no matter what's going on in this journey of dementia that I have with my dad, I keep coming back to this one thing and over and over and over again. In the end, all that matters is love. Because love transcends so much. It transcends time, it transcends space, it even transcends standard communication. Because I don't have to have a conversation with you to show you love. I don't have to have words to show you love. It never fails. And so I want to share with you a song that I wrote last July for my dad. during the lockdowns because we couldn't go see him, and this thought of all that matters is love just kept coming back to me, because that is what matters. And so I'm going to share this song with you, and I'm put on your surprise face. The title is All That Matters Is Love.
My daddy held me high and told me life was as endless as the sky. We played together, prayed together, and even as I grew, you've always been there, no matter what I'm going through. I owe so much to you, and love will go on, and faith will keep us strong. No matter what this life may bring, we'll walk through fire and flood and find a hope that comes from up above. 'Cause in the end, all that matters is love. Now in the mirror, you see somebody new, and things don't look the same anymore. Oh, but I still see who you are and who you've always been, and I will stay right here, no matter how the pathway bends, even if we have to live each day again. 'Cause love will go on, and faith will keep us strong. No matter what this life may bring, we'll walk through fire and flood and find the hope that comes from up above. 'Cause in the end, all that matters is love. No matter what this life may bring, we'll walk through fire and flood and find the hope that comes from up above. 'Cause in the end, all that matters is love. Oh, all that matters is love.
I mentioned that showing love to somebody doesn't require conversation. And that's a really good thing, because in this disease progression, language gets completely messed up. Because see, we have language on the left side of our brain and rhythm on the right. And in dementia, you lose on the left and retain on the right. So that's why my dad can sing hymns, but he struggles to make a coherent sentence. That retaining on the right and losing on the left, what happens is you lose vocabulary, but you keep the rhythm of speech. And when people start losing the words that fit, they'll fill it in with whatever word they have. I'm giving you everything I got. But to you, your brain, if you're talking to someone like this, I'll tell you, it will drive you nuts. Because the rhythm sounds normal, and you're going, I don't understand what they're saying. I should understand what they're saying. Say that again. And they'll give you some sentence that makes absolutely no sense. Guess what? You're never going to get it to make sense. But your brain is still hearing it in a rhythm, their normal cadence. This sounds like my dad. I don't know what he's telling me. And so your brain will try to grab onto that. You feel like you should understand him. And that day, 222, and the wall was there, and they came underwear because apples fidgy water? Did any of you get that last sentence at all? I'll repeat that last sentence. That day, 222, and the wall was there, and they came underwear because apples fidgy water? It sounds like you should figure that out, right? So you don't really know anything at that point. But what if I say it this way? That day, 222, and the wall was there, and they came underwear because apples fidgy water. Do you know anything about me now? What do you know about me now? How am I feeling? Am I angry? Upset maybe? Man, that day, 222. So now you have information, right? So does it really matter what I'm saying? No. What matters is, are you on my side? Are you with me? And when my dad says those things, I'll tell you, my Uncle Doyle goes and visits my dad. He's his little brother. And he'll attest to this. He'll say stuff in it. You got nothing, right, Uncle Doyle? It's like, I don't know what you're saying. But if Dad's mad, I'm mad. If he's upset, I'm upset. And so when my dad says something like that to me, here's the kind of answer I give him. Man, Dad, that would tick me off. Dad, that's not right. Do you need me to talk to somebody? Because I'll go talk to somebody about this. We're not going to have this. I don't even know what this is. But doggone it, I'm mad about it too. Right? What if this is how it comes out? That day, 222, and that wall was there. And they came underwear because apples fidgy water. Now what do you know about me? How am I feeling? Yeah, happy? Maybe I'm telling you something that happened today. Maybe I'm telling you a story from my childhood that you said something that spawned that. Do I know what it is? No. So how do I respond to that? The same way. Oh man, Dad, that cracks me up. You know, I remember one time you told me a story about you and Uncle Doyle and the BB guns. And I'll tell my dad a story back to him that he's told me my whole life, because you know what? He can't tell them to me anymore. But I can tell them back to him. And if he's happy, I'm happy. If he's laughing, I laugh. If he cuts his eyes at me over his glasses, I go, well, I don't know about that. And we can go on for hours this way, having a great conversation. He's happy, I'm happy. He's not happy, I'm not happy. We'll work that out, Dad. I'll take care of that for you. Yeah, okay. I share that with you because of this. Maintaining relationships is the most important thing. But in order to do that, we have to let go of our expectations of what that person should be, or even who they were. They're still them, it's just different. They can't access all the same pieces anymore. But if I have this expectation that Dad needs to know my name, or even know that I'm his daughter, I honestly don't care if he knows that. When he does, it's great. It's beautiful. But you need to let go of your expectations and meet them where they are. My dad thinks I'm a guy half the time. And I was his tomboy. It was just me and my sister, and I said I was Dad's son. Because we hunted and we fished together, and we played sports together. We'd go out after he got home from work and throw a football. I mean, it was great. So there's no wonder he thinks I'm not the most feminine person in the world. As you can tell, I do not have on a dress, because I don't wear them. I've always worn a suit. I asked for a tuxedo when I was 10 years old, and from 10 to like 50, Mom, please give me a tuxedo for Christmas. So the minute I was old enough to buy my own clothes, guess what I bought? Suit jackets, because I'm comfortable in them. I like them. But my dad thinks I'm a guy. Okay. Does it bother me? No. Because I just want to be somebody that he enjoys seeing. I want him to be happy when he sees me coming. Somebody you feel safe with? Because I respect him and I love him. And it isn't about my agenda. It isn't about what I want. It's about building a relationship with him where he's at. And it can be so beautiful. We have great times together. We laugh. I have great video of him just belly laughing about something. Nobody knows what it is, but we're having a great time. So I want to share a little story with you that happened. It was around Good Friday. I think it was the day before. And Quail Park had a Good Friday luncheon, Easter luncheon. And my sister and I went. And my dad is sitting, at the end of the table. And I'm on one side and my sister's on the other. And we're having lunch. And he reaches in his pocket, leans way back in the chair, and he pulls out a stack of napkins. A big stack of napkins, folded in half. And my sister looked at me and went, and I said, I don't know what that is. Let me ask you this. Does it matter that he has a stack of napkins in his pocket? No, does it really matter? Do I need to go, Dad, what are you doing with a stack of napkins in your, well, you don't need all those the paper towels here. Just give them to me. I'll take care of them for you. Because that's our normal response, right? Oh, what are those for? Oh, I'll take care of them. He pulled it out and he looked at it and he leaned back and he shoved it back in his pocket. And he did this probably another 3 times during the course of lunch. And every time, the conversation with my sister was this. And I thought I had an idea of what it might be. And then Dad confirmed it for me. Because when we finished lunch and we're sitting there, they hadn't taken our plates away or anything. He leans back again, and he pulls out his napkins, his paper towels, and he looks at them like this, and he goes like that and throws them in front of me. And the minute he did that, I knew. And I went like this. Oh, you want me to take care of it? I'll take care of it. Because see, my dad would fight you over a ticket, and he carried a money clip. This was his money. He's at lunch. We're done. It's time to pay the bill. Napkins. And I picked it up, and I got up from, I'm sitting like this, and I walk around behind Dad, and I walk back about this far, and I turn around, and my sister's watching me, and she looked at me, and I went, give me a second. And I watched the other people, and I waved at people, and stood back there for about 30 seconds, and I walked back up to Dad, and I took this and threw it back in front of him and said, there's your change. And by the way, Dad, thanks for lunch. And he said, well, anytime. A few minutes, they brought dessert around. Guess what he did? He pulled it out again and handed it to me this time. And so I'm thinking, okay. So I'm holding, and I said, let me check something. There's nobody around me, and I go like this. Hey, she said it was part of lunch. It was part of our lunch. Well, that's a good deal. Sticks it in his pocket. And when we left, gave him a hug. Dad, I love you one more. That's our family has this. We say, I love you one more. We hold our finger out the window when we drive away from each other, which is I love you one more times than anything you can say. Not just I love you more, I love you one more. And as a kid, Dad, I love you a million. I love you a million and one, because I already beat you. Whoever said it first, right? You can't top it. Dad, I love you one more. I love you too. Thanks again for lunch. I really had a good time. Thanks. But next time I'm buying. And he goes, well, we'll see about that. Right. And we left. And later that evening, I called down to check and see how Dad was doing, because visits sometimes can stir him up, and it becomes not a great day maybe later. And I called and said, how's Dad doing? He's had a great day. He's been great all day long. He's been walking around ever since you guys left telling people, anybody who will listen as many times as they will listen, I bought my girl's lunch today. I bought my daughter's lunch. I bought my girl's lunch. I bought lunch. Throughout the whole day, he was loving it, because you know what? He's the man, taking care of my girls. Now, if you go back to how I react, if I had said, Dad, what do you got those for? Here, let me have those. I'll take them. What did I just take? Money. And he already thinks I'm a guy, so now I'm a guy thief. And the rest of the day, he'd be agitated. Because when he gets agitated, he threatens to call the police. He'd been walking around saying, that guy stole my money, and I want to report. That guy stole my money earlier. And he's talking about me and his paper towels. It wasn't paper towels to him. Because see, it's all about relationships. Relationships are so important. And it starts with our relationship with God. hands down. If it weren't for him, I couldn't walk a single solitary day of this journey. No way. I would be curled up in a corner somewhere. After dealing with caregiving for my mom and her passing away and taking care of Dad the last 4 years, I can't do it. I can't. Even with a team of people around me, family and friends who are willing to help, I can't do it, except for God. And with him, I can do anything. And he constantly gives me peace and gives me a feel. It's a common sense thing. When you think about these aren't hard things, right? These are, if you just stop to think, look at how different the interactions can be. But he gives me that peace. And I am so grateful for my Lord and Savior. So grateful. I'm grateful that he wanted a relationship with me. Think about that. We always talk about, I want a relationship with God. And he wanted a relationship with me. He wants me back with him. That's how much he loves me. How much he loves you. I'm grateful to have been raised in a family of very, very deep faith. Pastors and deacons, and we would get together and we would sing together. And it wasn't just my parents or my grandparents, but it was my aunts and my uncles. And the example that they were in front of me too. Because I grew up watching real people who had real problems and real struggles and weather very real storms in their lives by holding to God's hand and trusting his truth. Because see, his word is true. We know he loved us. He loved us so much that he became one of us to be a sacrifice for us and die in our place, die in my place, die in your place. He promises us so many things, right? But he also says that his ways aren't our ways, and his thoughts aren't our thoughts. I don't have to understand what he's doing, no matter how badly I want to, because I want to. I want to see what he's doing, and I can't. So I can go my own way, and I can make my own plans and make my own decisions, whether it's this how I deal with Dad or with anybody else. Jobs. I can make my own decisions, right? I'll make my own decisions. I'm going to weigh the data. I'm going to make this decision. I don't have all the data. So it would be really stupid for me. In my job, I'm a big data person. I want to know all the data before I make a decision. In life, I can't do that. But the one who loves me most, who died for me, can see the end from the beginning. And he knows where every single one of these paths and forks leads. And so to trust him to guide me in that decision, whatever that decision is, or wherever I'm headed, whatever path I'm walking down, makes way more sense. You'd be dumb to have this much data and say, well, that's enough. I'm going to buy that car, I'm going to buy that house, I'm going to move there, I'm going to take that job with only this much. Right? People would look at you and go, you didn't even look at what was going on first. In the span of God's knowledge, I know this much. And so I can let him guide me. I don't have to understand it. I can't see what he sees. I need to trust him. So I just need to trust that he's got this. No matter what this is, sorry, I keep hitting that. Whatever this is, whether it's a journey like mine with somebody who's struggling with dementia, financial problems, health problems, jobs problems, relationship problems. But no matter what any of us are going through, we can trust him. And that is why I, or we, can have joy in the middle of no matter what kind of circumstances that we have around us. We can still have that joy. And if I can lay back in his arms and just relax and let him guide me through life, through my days, that is when I find the peace that passes all understanding. Because that doesn't make sense to people watching you. When the storms are swirling, you go, my Father sees it, and I know he's going to take care of it. That, you look like a weirdo. But that's where people look at you and go, what's different? How can you be relaxed? How can you be okay with this? This isn't okay. Your dad, who you love, has dementia. This isn't okay. And I can, in confidence and in joy, say, it's okay. I know where he's going. He's safe, man. I know where he's going. I'm going to see him again. And whatever reason this path is in front of me or our family, we're going to walk it because God has stuff in the middle of it that I can't even conceive or think of at this point. Trusting in Jesus is where my hope comes from. We may not always be happy about what we're going through. It's not happy. We grieve, we lose people, we lose things. We have a lot of loss. We don't have to be happy, but we can still have joy knowing he has promised to work everything out for our ultimate good and his glory. And the minute that it's for my ultimate good and his glory, he will resolve whatever situation I have in front of me. I just need to be patient and relax. So I want to leave you with one other song, and it is one of my most favorite hymns of all time. And I love, by the way, the music this morning. Oh, that's soothing to my soul. Man, I love that music. I love the old hymns. I love the depth of the words of the old hymns. And we sing them our whole lives, most of us. And you know what happens sometimes? They just become words. They just become, I know the words, I'm going to sing them. But if we ever stop to really listen to what these old songs are saying, the messages in these hymns this morning, right? If you just digest that and let it sit in your heart a little bit, it's so important. It's easy to just plod through them. But I hope that you'll let these words just sit in your heart because it really is so very sweet to trust in Jesus.
Tis so sweet to trust you, Jesus, and to take you at your word, just to rest upon your promise, and to know thus says the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust you, and how I've proved you o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust you more. I'm so glad I learned to trust you, precious Jesus, Savior, friend. And I know that you are with me, will be with me to the end. And Jesus, Jesus, how I trust you, and how I've proved you o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust you more. And Jesus, Jesus, how I trust you, and how I've proved you o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh,
thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for letting me be here this morning and letting me share a little bit of my story and maybe a little bit of insight about dementia. You don't know, I can't express to you what a blessing this is for me. My mom was going to be here today. I wore her socks. But thank you again for being here. I appreciate it so much. And there was a flyer out on the table. If you didn't get one, at the bottom there's some information, some resources. I meant to have a full resource page for you, but if you ever want to talk about it, if you ever have a question about it, I'm always here for discussion with a family, with anybody. I'm here if you need anything at any point. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.